Welcome. Today's video is going to cover lesson 9.1. So we're going to be looking at transformation. So we're going to start graphing some images out and see what's occurring in our problem. Pull up our notes here so we can see what we're working with. All right. So today we're looking specifically at translations, and we want to make sure that we can calculate what the coordinates in our figures are going to be. So just from the beginning, we got to go over a couple notation examples and some vocabulary that you're going to see come up with your transformations. So first, the original figure that you're working with in a transformation is just going to be labeled as a point. So for instance here, like this is vertex A. So you're going to have your vertices graph. Once you've completed the transformation, it will go to the image, and that will be labeled in what we call prime notation. So this would be A prime. Okay, this would be the final vertex in your transformation. So if we're conducting a translation is just going to be one of our transformations that moves every point on a figure a given distance in a given direction. It's just going to shift the figure to a new location on your graph. So you're either going to move that figure up, down, left, or right, and you're going to have to move it a specific number of units on your graph, so a given distance in a given direction. So when we describe a translation, we're going to start with our pre-image. Our original coordinate would be located at x, y, and it would be labeled as point A. Once we perform the transformation, those coordinates are going to change and then be located at A prime after the transformation, and this is considered our image. We're going to use an algebraic rule to define our translations. So x, y will translate to x plus h and y plus k. This value here, h, is with the x coordinate, so it's going to move along the x-axis or move that horizontally. K is along your y-axis, so it's going to move the figure vertically. So if we were looking at just identifying what's going to happen with my coordinates, we're going to use this first translation rule, where a point, xy, is going to translate to x plus 1, y minus 2. So we're just going to plug that in. We want to know what the image of B would be. So B is going to start at 2, 1. And we're going to plug that into this rule. So the x coordinate was 2, so we're just going to have 2 plus 1. And then the y coordinate was 1, so we'll have 1 minus 2. So B prime will be located now at 3, negative 1. So what happened here is we moved 1 unit horizontally. So we went from 2 to 3. And we moved 2 units vertically in the negative direction. So we go from 1 minus 2 would take us down to negative 1. But that's 2 units vertically. Okay, so same thing here. If we want our image, we plug in the negative 1 and 5 into our rule. We're going to use this same rule, for each of these 4 problems. Okay, so if I was going to plug in the points negative 1, 5 into my rule, become negative 1 plus 1 and 5 minus 2. Okay, so here, let's say this image point, we didn't put a coordinate with it, but let's say it's A. Then A prime would be located at 0, and 3. And you'll see if I started here, we move 1 unit right, we'd go to 0, and we move 2 units down, we'd go to 3. Now, in number 3, we're going to work the opposite way. This time, we want to know what's the pre-image. So where did the vertex start? If Q prime is at 3, 5, or it ends there. So we know that when we apply this rule, x plus 1 and y minus 2, it's going to go to the point 3, 5. But where would it have begun? So in this case, what I would need to do is determine what x value, if I add 1 to it, would take us to 3. Okay, so in this case then, I could say that that would start at 2, because 2 plus 1 would take you to 3. And if we look at what does the y value need to be if y minus 2 would take you to 5. So then I would see that the y coordinate would need to be 7, because 7 minus 2 would be 5. So my pre-image here, Q, would be at 2, 7, and then Q prime would be at 3, 5. This is where it started. Then it would move to this location. Okay, so same thing here. See if you can pause your video and determine where that pre-image would be located. Okay, if we take a look, this is what we should have in here. And you have to be careful with negatives. Okay, but I should see then that my point should have started at -8, because -8 plus 1 would be -7. And then this would be -7, because -7 minus 2 would take you to -9. All right. So then one more to kind of check for yourself. Use the point P at 4, -7 to find P prime if the translation is that x, y, well, translate to x minus 3 and y minus 9. Okay, so P begins at 4, -7. P prime ends at 1, -16. And you should see that if you took 4 minus 3, that would take you to 1. And then plug in the -7. -7 minus 9 takes you to -16. All right, now those rules are going to be important because we're going to construct pictures of graphs. So what we want to do is be able to graph the image of the triangle. But on a graph, we always want to see the pre-image because I have to know where it started and the image, where it ends. Okay, otherwise that's not going to make sense. And I'm going to do these in 2 different colors here. I might need a ruler, maybe a protractor here to connect these. So let's see. Let's start with my triangle at 0, -2. There's point K. Then I've got 4, 3. There is L. And M is at 6, -1. There's M. Try to use your construction tools whenever you're creating figures because we want them to be neat and we want to see what our construction does work itself out, okay, when we go to calculate it. Now what we are going to do, okay, is take this pre-image, okay, KLM, and apply this translation rule. So I would need to know my vertices for K prime, L prime, and M prime, okay, by plugging that in. Well, if K started at 0, -2, okay, I'm going to put 0 minus 4. That should take me to -4. And then plug in the -2. -2 plus 2 is 0. Okay, or if we were to go on our figure right here, I would start at vertex K. X minus 4 would move 4 units to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then y plus 2 would move 2 units vertically and would take you to right here, where that would then be K prime. I've moved 4 units left and 2 units up. Okay, and then you can see it's at -4, 0, right on my axis there. Same thing with L to get L prime. So 4 minus 4 is going to be 0, and 3 plus 2 is going to be 5. So I should be getting L prime at 0, 5, okay, which would place it right here. There would be L prime, and again, look to see, did we move 4 units to the left? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 up, 1, 2. There would be L prime. And then M prime started at 6, -1, so 6 minus 4 would be 2, and then -1 plus 2 would be 1. So M prime should be located at 2, 1, which would place it right here with the M prime. Now, if I were to connect these, okay, you should then get the picture of your translation. It should look like we took our original pre-image and just shifted it this direction. Okay, 4 to the left and 2 up. Okay, this figure is just moved over. You can kind of see that direction, okay, in here if you were to just kind of connect those. Each of those vertices are moving that same direction. Okay, if you were to take your pre-image and place it directly over your image, those should be exactly congruent, because a translation is going to be an isometry or a rigid motion. Okay, and again, if it's just a translation, it should look like the figure is just shifting to that location. All right, good luck with your assignment on translation.